Hello and welcome to HealthCross Talks. I am Lavina Tandon and today I'm going to talk about emergency medicine, something that UK does really well and is known for. But of late, we have had some issues. But who best to take this up but with the president of Royal College of Emergency Medicine, Dr. Adrian Boyle. Thank you so very much.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Emergency medicine used to be under 4 hours. We had to be seen, and 90% of people were seen till 2020, but that number is down to less than 70, if I'm right. What's happened?
So what's happened since the pandemic is we've ended up with some very, very long stays. So you talk about the 4-hour access study, and it's not a wait to be seen, it's a stay in the emergency room. So frequently people are seen much quicker than the 4 hours, but it's actually whether they are admitted to hospital or sent home. And the aspiration and the NHS constitutional standard is that everybody is out within 95% of people out within that 4-hour period. And that's probably quite a good thing, but we haven't met that since 2015. It's got much worse since the pandemic because actually our hospitals have become basically very congested. There's never any beds, and a lot of patients are having a lot of care in their emergency months. So last year, nearly 1.5 million people spent more than 12 hours in emergency months, and 400,000 people spent 24 hours.
Wow.
And 24 hours in an emergency department is not good for anyone, particularly if they're sick, if they're elderly, they'll become delirious, they'll decondition, they'll miss medications, and it will make them less well. So as a college, we advocate very hard that we need to tackle the underlying causes of these long stays in emergency departments.
I know Lord Darcy's report has revealed that we all are in ICU emergency continuous situation.
Yeah.
How do you feel? How does that report make you feel? Do you think it's a fair assessment? But it doesn't give us many solutions. So what would you have as yours?
So we're actually very pleased with the way the Darcy report's done, because what we see is now a much greater openness and transparency from government. Now, transparency is not the answer to everything, but if your people aren't prepared to start talking about the problem, then there's no chance of a solution. It was never intended to promote solutions. Very, very little of what the Darcy report talks about fixing the problem. The aim of the Darcy report was, in his own words, to provide a diagnosis. And he's correctly diagnosed, though our A&E is in an awful state. But that's in a way where we encourage that people are actually prepared to try and start talking about how to try and fix these problems.
What do you think is required to fix your life or the life of emergency department?
Okay, so in a way, I don't advocate on behalf of me or my emergency physicians. My job is about making sure that standards in clinical care are good. So actually what I'm really here about is for the patients.
Yeah.
And what patients need is actually adequate capacity in the system. There's a lot of talk now about how can we make people healthier, how can we move care out of hospital into the community, and that's all well and good. But at the same time, we've also got to have enough capacity in the system so that when a patient needs to be admitted into hospital, there's a bed available for them and they stay in the right place all the time. Because currently when the hospital's so full, people end up in the wrong place, they end up in the wrong ward, some people go home, they seek care, and it's all very inefficient and a very poor patient experience.
Indeed. So how can we, because I know whenever we have to use an emergency care, I keep scrounging for, have you taken cards? Have you taken this game? Have you taken that book? Because we know it's going to be a very long wait. What needs to happen in your mind? What is the solution to make their life or our lives better and give good care?
Okay, so the fundamental thing which is going to improve care for the most sick patients is to make sure we've got enough capacity in hospitals. So the UK has less beds per head of population than almost any other European country. And at the same time, we don't use those beds very well because we don't have a good relationship with social care. So at any one time, 13% of the people in NHS hospitals are there waiting to be discharged. So the priority of the government has to be, it's like everything. You can build a bigger bath, but if you haven't sorted out the problem in your plug hole, your bath is just going to continue overflowing.
Yeah.
And we would say, make a better plug hole, fix the plug hole, allow people to leave hospital. But also if you invest in social care, and that's not NHS money, that's money going into social care, there will be a double benefit because not only will we get people out of hospital, but we'll also stop them needing to come to hospital in the first place.
So I'm hearing this social care very often.
Yeah.
Please explain for a layman like me, and maybe a lot of people who might be listening, as to what is the social care and why are they using your beds?
So social care usually means the sort of additional support that you might get from a care worker to help someone even live at their home. So the majority of people who are in hospital waiting to be discharged who can't go home, it's not because they need to go into a care home or a residential home. It's because they can't go home and they need some maybe a carer to come in and help them get out of bed in the morning.
Right.
Somebody to put some walking aids around the house so they don't fall over. Someone to just make
older people.
This is very much about older people. And the UK is rapidly becoming, like many countries, rapidly becoming a much older population. And we've got to think about how we look after our older patients better.
That's the plug hole that we are looking at, the care for the elderly, which is not available maybe at home, and they need, and probably social care is doing that because they can't go to every home, or maybe they don't have a home.
And there isn't enough capacity in the social care system to look after all these people, and there's squabbles about funding. It's not like the NHS, which is free at the point of access. There's complicated funding arrangements, and these things all take time.
So what we're insinuating every time, I think, by capacity, saying that we need capacity building, is to have more money. I think you need more money. Are we saying that?
You're asking whether we need more money, and yes, we do need more money, but there are also costs to not sorting this out.
Yeah.
And actually what we're doing now is often finding a very expensive way of delivering not very good care. Yeah. Keeping people in hospital when they don't need to be in hospital is really bad for them. It prolongs their stay. It becomes expensive again. Yes. There are better ways to try and deliver care with the same money.
Right. Our Prime Minister wants reform, and just reform. What are the reform solutions that you can offer? Also in the light of Lord Darcy's report.
So the first thing is that we need to make sure that we have got workforce that is retained, looked after and capable. There's far too much churn, far too much money being spent on locums and agency staff. So make it so that staff want to stay, because actually that will become extremely cost effective in keeping people in the workforce. There needs to be some spending around sorting out the various capital things that people are talking about. So the capital things are things like making sure that we've got enough computers, the computers work properly, the buildings we're working in are fit for purpose. Because if these things don't work, improving one aspect of the system without taking the whole system, it doesn't work. There will need to be some money. There will, I'm sure, be difficult conversations about, we've got this amount of money, it can't be spent in the same way, who's going to lose, who's going to win. I would say that, we've got to try and prioritize the bits of the health service that we really, really need to invest in. Obviously, we need to be able to make sure that includes emergency medicine.
Okay. If the Prime Minister was sitting in front of you, what are the 3 things you'll ask of him?
Okay. So the first thing is I'll congratulate him on wanting to try and deal with the problem. I'd try and start at the back door, and I'll probably say 3 times, if you fix social care and then fix it again and fix it again, that will give him the best bang for buck.
Social care, social care, social care. Fix, fix, fix.
Exactly.
Okay. Lots of diversity in NHS now. What is it like now to work with such different kind of people? What's the environment like?
It's great. So over 60% of my members obtained their primary medical qualification overseas. And I would imagine that the vast majority of that are from India. And it's great. We are better as a country if we have a diverse workforce that represents the needs of our patients.
Right.
Yeah. So we've got to get better at inducting people into the NHS. Right. So I see regularly doctors, international medical graduates coming and working in the NHS, and they feel like they've landed on Mars.
Yeah. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah. They feel like they've landed on Mars, and they don't know that they have to go to GP. They're worried about where their children go to a school, how they get paid tax, all that sort of thing. So actually there's a real bit to try and make sure that international medical graduates get a soft landing. And actually time spent on induction pays back so much better later on.
Some better induction is required.
Better induction.
Yeah, that's another. I've felt that. And especially seeing that the number of doctors, not only from India, which is at the top, but it's those from overseas, about 50%. I think high time. more
And,
thought on
and
induction.
it's not just the doctors, increasingly nursing staff.
Hey,
as well.
healthcare professionals.
Yeah.
All round. Yeah. Okay. So BAPIO Training Academy, one sentence for them on how do they contribute in the process?
Well, I think they do this really well already. And I would say engage. But they've done a really good job at being in the room in a collegiate way.
Yeah. And bringing the conversations together.
Exactly.
Indeed, dialogues. Now, I'm asking this of every doctor. You care for people. How much do you care for yourself? Do you get the downtown and enough thank yous?
Well, I'm in an interesting place at the moment. So I've ended up being on both sides of the fence. Earlier this year, I broke my hip. I fell off my bike. I broke my hip. I broke clavicle and some ribs. And I spent most of this year on crutches getting better. So what I've seen from this is a lot of that burden rests on your family. So my wife has been working. She continues to work really hard. She has her own career, but at the same time, she's also been looking after me.
Well, and you've seen, it's.
I think what has been reassuring is that all the stuff that I've thought and I've advocated for, actually, when you're in that situation, it's pretty much true. You know, my experience of going to hospital for long stays, it is exactly what I lobby for.
Indeed. So you sound like someone who's a very adventurous person. That's your downtime, is it?
Yes. Spending it on crutches hadn't been good. I had all sorts of adventures planned for this year.
Tell us. So what did the doctor do?
So what I was going to do, 4 days before this accident, I was cycling from Santiago in Chile over the Andes to Buenos Aires. So that's about 1,000 miles over 10 days.
Wow.
Going up into the mountains. So I was going to do that. I'm not sure whether I want to try and do that again.
Oh, I see. Oh, wonderful. How wonderful talking to you. Because this question kind of gives a peek into what a doctor does for your passion, basically, is what I'm looking for. But I see it's adventure sports, something adventurous.
Yeah, that should be fair.
Yes. Yeah. And you don't have music or anything while you're biking or anything?
No. So, I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not good at. Music and dancing and definitely not what I'm good at.
So it's meditative, isn't it? When you go in and...
Yeah, but it's also the endorphins from a physical challenge as well.
Oh, brilliant. You know what? I really hope, Dr. Boyle, you're able to bike, maybe not to the route that you mentioned, but wherever else. Very soon.
That's very kind of you.
Thank you very much for giving an insight. That's absolutely wonderful. To our Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, Dr. Boyle is saying, fix social care for emergency care to be better, and for all such diverse people coming into the NHS, better induction, and better induction. That was absolutely wonderful. This is what we want on HealthCross Talks, getting the conversation going, bringing in different solutions and making life better.
Delighted to have SBI UK as our show sponsor, backed by 100 years in the UK. A special thanks to BAPIO and BTA for making these vital conversations on HealthCross Talks possible. First and foremost, BAPIO, British Association of Physicians of Indian origin, one of the UK's largest multi-professional organizations championing multi-ethnic healthcare workers since 1996. Committed to excellence in healthcare, leadership and equality. BAPIO Training Academy, empowering medical professionals with top-tier training and development. Thank you ever so much, BAPIO and BTA, for making this conversation possible.